course. Good morning, my beautiful favorite Nigerian. You know I'm violent.
Very violent. You say you see that here.
Oh,
like,
we do, but we do.
The Wawulensa of the Wawulensa is my Wawulens.
That was a beautiful life. I really loved it. Really, really loved it.
It is
yes.
in personal relations, so it is
yes.
in international diplomacy.
But
social,
no enemy
social
not last forever. We've seen the enemy of my enemy becoming my friend.
We've seen it everywhere. Even in Edo State. Well, let's begin what's trending in Nigeria. The Edo State election has taken center stage after the declaration of Monday Okpebolo of the All Progressives Congress winner of the governorship election. All over the weekend, the Oba of Benin, who has had a long-drawn battle with the incumbent governor, Godwin Obaseki, received Okpebolo and other members of the All Progressives Congress at his palace. The Oba thanked all parties for their peaceful conduct during the elections and expressed confidence that Okpebolo's administration will have respect for the traditional institution in Edo State.
The one and those that you win, thank Mr. President for ensuring peaceful election. Now, it's a new dawn. All glory be to God. So we pray for peace. I have no doubt there will be development in the Bakumiza's administration. I have no doubt there will be respect for traditional institutions.
All right, the Oba of Benin here has shown that he's a true father of the state. Yesterday, we showed a video where he, was dancing when he received the artifacts. I mean, we thought it was the video of the celebration, which you can see there. There was celebration at the Oba's Palace yesterday when the APC members, went to pay him a courtesy visit after their victory. But like I said earlier, Dr. Abati, there's been that long-drawn battle between the Oba of Benin and Obaseki because of the stolen artifacts back in the 1800s, where where the palace was looted. And Obaseki actually wanted, by the British, I know you have to emphasize that, yes. By the British. Yes. Obaseki wants those artifacts in some sort of transformational museum. But you know that the royal palace, and they have the royal museum, the Oba wants the artifacts in the royal museum. So they've had that, long-drawn battle. But also, Ayo made mention yesterday when we took this story about whether or not the Oba should be, seen as interfering in politics. We have seen that he has tried to put some calm in the political rancor in Edo State. Well, the Oba of Benin back in 2020 had pleaded with Governor Obaseki to make peace with Adams Oshiomhole so as to quench the political tension in the state. He also advised Obaseki to start preparing for life after office. Let's take a look.
I'm not happy about this. When you didn't let me resolve the issue between you and your friend, comrade, before it got to this point. If we had done it that time, everything would have been, we would not be sitting here, and everything would have been smoother than this. Let us resolve it when it was still coming up, when it was still brewing, quietly. It will be good for you to look beyond your office, because you are not going to be there all the time. It's good to look beyond. You see the elder statesman there, Chief Odigi Oyegu, was once a governor. He's not anymore now. Everybody knows that it's transient. Everybody knows. But you look beyond. Look at the bigger picture. Look at how one day you can also sit and be, when you are no longer the governor, everybody can still give you respect. More respect even.
Well, all right, Dr. Abati, that was back in 2020. Again, the political tension is still rife, I believe, in Edo State. Over to you.
Okay, just a number of general comments. The first is to say that the reverse tool of Benin, is not involved in politics. All the things that the Oba Iwuare II Ogidigan has said, it's just by way of the father. He is the representative of the ancestors.
Yes.
He's the father of the kingdom, advising his children, whatever political party that they may belong to. And in one instance, we saw the APC people going to say, well, Oba Atokpe, this is the man that has been declared winner of the election. Everyone goes to the Oba's palace to pay homage. Even when we're in government, all the way from Abuja, presidents will go to the Benin palace just to go and pay homage. And the Oba is not directly involved in politics. Even when the APC went there on the victory parade, he told them, you saw the advice that he gave. And when Senator Oshiomhole was trying to give a certain narrative, he corrected Senator Oshiomhole immediately. He's saying, please don't misrepresent me. That's not what I said. Now, in this other video that has been shown, again, the Oba was advising Governor Obaseki that, look, this position you are occupying is a transient position. We all know that power is transient. Now, one day you will not be there. He pointed to Chief John Odige Oyegun, who was a very senior person in government, PAMSEC, before he became governor, a distinguished person. Today, he's a senior statesman in the country and in Edo Kingdom. So he said, be like him. Now, that advice that Oba Iwuare II gave, the moment of reckoning has arrived. Obaseki is no longer going to be a governor when he hands over. But he will still be a subject of the Oba of Benin and a member of the kingdom. The third point is that we should advise politicians not to try to use the reverse tool of Benin for purposes of their own validation. So I don't think that the palace itself would like that, for politicians to be using style, to use what Oba said. They went to visit Oba to validate the outcome of the September 21 election. We should separate traditions from politics. It was in the First Republic that traditional rulers were in the House of Chiefs and they were actively constitutionally recognized as persons involved in politics. But that is not the reality today. But I know that all of us are from communities, we are from kingdoms. We would like to use whatever we have to validate ourselves. But I don't think that Benin's tool, is that, enthusiastic about getting involved in politics. Some people have even said, oh, Obaseki fought the Oba, he took the Oba to court. Obaseki himself came out that time through Crusoe Osagie, I think in May 2024, to say that no, this was an issue between the palace and Enigi, one of the dukes, and that the state government had no hand in it. So those who want to play politics with the outcomes, if they have issues, Obaseki has made the point. Go through due process. Or rather, we will meet in court.
Well, one thing I took away from the Oba statement there was the fact that he said Okwebolo's administration will have respect for the traditional institution. I mean, I think that is a direct message to Okwebolo, because obviously the Edo traditional institution, like I believe Ayo, she's from Edo State, she said that the people always listen to what the Oba says. Like yesterday we talked about, the Oba dancing, if we have that video where he was dancing in front of, at his palace with those video again is the video was when he received the artifacts. Wasn't the video of the celebration by the APC members at his palace. But obviously, Rufai, you know that in the same vein, we've been talking about the APC. I want to talk about the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Olumide Akpata, who was on our nightly news program, Primetime, yesterday. He alleged vote buying and manipulation of results during the election. He claimed that the election was a transaction. Let's take a look.
So one was also taken aback by the level of vote buying that took place on Saturday, openly, in such a brazen manner, all across the state. And so that is why I say it wasn't an election, it was a transaction. And it's quite unfortunate because it was a willing seller and willing buyer situation. So I am not going to just apportion blame only to those who were buying. The people seemed very ready to sell their votes. The people seemed very ready or wanted to be compensated for voting. It was quite tragic. It was quite tragic. There was a particular polling unit where the people were agitating to be paid as much as others were paid in other units.
I mean, Olumide Akpata here voicing out his frustration, but Peter Obi has reacted also to the elections, the Edo elections yesterday. He wrote on Twitter, "What happened over the weekend in the name of election in Edo State does not in any way represent the democratic process we choose as a method of electing our political leadership. Instead, it was a blatant example of state capture and continued gross undermining of our democratic process and values. Any nation whose leadership recruitment process is so fatally flawed is doomed, and we are all seeing the effect in our country. I urge those in authority not to allow this situation to stand or depend on it to remain in power. As a country, we have invested significantly in IREV and BVAS, and they must be allowed to function and used properly in order to free our electoral process from the massive falsification that has plagued it and worsening." Rufai, over to you for your comments.
So, truth has to be said. You know, I was talking to somebody over the weekend, Dr. Newton Jimudan, and he was writing a 5-part piece on what election is and even democracy in Nigeria, because we have lost it. And the truth has to be said. You have an election where people don't even come out in the first place. So the Edo election in the first place is a failure, because if you have 2.2 million people that registered to vote and 2.2 million had their PVC, and less than 600,000 determined who will be the governor. So what about the over 1 million people? Where did they go?
That's the question.
Because they were not interested in the process.
Question.
Secondly, the people that came out, the willingness, and you see, underline what Olumide Akpata said, the willingness to be able to sell their vote is a reflection that a lot of Nigerians, most Nigerians now have what we call Stockholm Syndrome, where they love their oppressors and they are content about getting those 10,000 naira against their future, so they can sell their future for you for pittance. And that's what we should really talk about. Because in the 2023 election, this was the exact same thing that happened. When they blame the government and say, okay, people manipulated, most Nigerians too didn't come out to vote in 2023. Voter apathy was in the increase. In fact, less than 30% of Nigerians determined who was going to be the president. So when we blame INEC and IREV and all of that, the truth is, what about those that were supposed to come out to vote? It shows that largely people are disgruntled. The few people that are coming out will sell their future for 10, 15,000 naira. And you see, you can't build a nation that way. Let me tell you what will happen in a couple of years. The anarchy will deepen. Those that capture state that can use money would rule the country. So anywhere you get money from, be it a drug baron or anything, you'll capture the state, the essence of the state. And when you capture the states, what will happen? All sorts of shenanigans will happen. You will first start by destroying institutions. When you destroy institutions, you will destroy it to the very local parts. Then you also destroy the morale of the people. And you will build a population where people don't believe in the country any longer. They will have 2 points. Probably they will leave the country. Those that will remain behind will join them in this madness, and the cycle will continue.
Yeah, the cycle will continue.
So, and that is what is happening in Nigeria, or if has not even happened.
Terrible.
We cannot have an electoral system where the highest bidder buys. We cannot have a country where Nigeria's governorship becomes the best governorship money can buy, or the best presidency money can buy. Because in the end, something will have to give. You will have total destruction and collapse of the system, and that's what we're already having. That's why you see bandits can parade themselves on TikTok while the government is arresting protesters. And that's the beginning of the disintegration and calling a nation a failed state. A failed state does not mean the nation does not exist, but a nation that can't live to its full potential becomes a failure. And that's what is happening to Nigeria today.
Yeah, I mean, you are spot on, Rufai. I mean, we also saw the Abdullahi Ganduje talking about the fact that he's going to replicate, or the APC will replicate the same formats that they did in Edo State, in Ondo, and Anambra State. I mean, what does that really mean? Really, what does that mean? People are just very frustrated by that actual comment that he made. Yes.
Because if you say that, and that's why, please, if we can still, the first thing is, can you call your lawmakers? Can we start to push for electoral reform? Because, Oji, we are in September now. A couple of months from now, it's going to be December. 2025 will start. Once 2025 starts, full politicking starts. There will not be any governance. The lawmakers will not. You remember how Buhari pushed us back and forth to be able to sign the electoral law leading to 2019 before we could even use beavers?
All right.
So, if you now push those electoral reforms around close to the election, no president will want to sign it because they want the electoral laws to benefit them.
Yeah.
So our lawmakers, I don't know what they are doing. The people that want to serve, I don't know what they are doing.
Right.
But largely, it is showing that a lot of people are disgruntled with the system. And there's going to be a large amount of voter apathy. We are still recording 20%. There will be a time. It's only about 20% of people that will be voting in elections. There will be a time it will even be 10%.
All right.
Because that's how disintegration happens.
We're all here calling for electoral reform. The civil CSOs have called for it. We have called for it. Nigeria needs to stand by its people. Let's take another story. The founder of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has urged the federal government to stop the payment of petrol subsidy. The billionaire philanthropist made the comment during an interview with Bloomberg on Monday, adding that subsidies allow for manipulation of petrol pricing. He also stated that if the NNPC refineries begin to work, Nigeria would be the biggest exporter of petroleum products in Africa. Let's take a look.
If NNPCs, that is Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, if their refineries, if they start to work, then Nigeria will be one of the biggest exporters of petroleum products in Africa. You know, in Africa, only 2 countries are self-sufficient, which is Algeria and Libya, but all other countries are importers of petroleum products. This our refinery will bring quite a lot of issues up there. You know, it will show the real consumption of Nigeria because, you know, nobody can tell you. Some people say 60 million liters of gasoline per day. Some say no, it's less. But right now, if you look at it, by us producing, okay, everything can be counted. Subsidy is a very sensitive issue. If, you know, I believe the problem is not only the subsidy, it is problem that, you know, once you are subsidizing something, then people will be blotting the numbers and government will end up paying what they are not supposed to be paying.
Do you think it's the right time to get rid of the subsidies?
I think it is, you know, because all countries have actually gotten rid of subsidies. So it is not sustainable. You know, I mean, the amount of subsidies that were paid, government cannot afford those subsidies.
Here has maintained his stance. I mean, it's just that constant flip-flop, whether or not we're paying petrol, there's still fuel subsidy or not. I know you discussed this earlier, but I'd like to also take a comment, which, you know, the president has also maintained that there is no fuel subsidy, right? Only on Monday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was represented by the head of service of the Federation at the 2024 Annual National Management Conference of the Nigerian Institute of Management on Monday, said that despite the pains occasioned by the removal of fuel subsidy and other economic reforms introduced by his administration, Nigerians will soon start reaping the benefits of the sacrifices. Promises, promises, promises. The question is, we are still paying subsidy.
So all of these stories, from the election to subsidy to the comments from the president, are all connected. It all falls under international political economics. Where do we go with this conversation? We start from the beginning. Democracy is similar to English, is a concept that came on a boat. Now, when that concept came on a boat from those who brought it to us, there are some foundational issues that were not addressed. So we're now trying to transplant a system that...
We had democracy in older empire.
Well, in its modern state. In its modern state. So we're now trying to transplant a system that was created after industrialization, economic empowerment. Several processes happened before many of the states internationally were able to fully consummate and appreciate the meaning of this concept of democracy. You cannot expect a person on an empty stomach to vote using wisdom or using sensibility. Let's look at some of the literacy rates around. We're wanting people to engage in meaningful debate about policies and issues. The candidates themselves are not engaging in debate about policies and issues.
Point.
So at the end of the day, there's conversation about, with the candidate of the APC, there was a narrative about his, his ability to communicate in the English language and so forth. And you ask yourself, well, maybe the people who are ready to accept whatever he's offering, whether it be in the allegation of vote buying or whether it be in the sense of how he communicates, maybe they're quite happy with what they have. What it all comes down to the fact that we haven't built the welfare state. The welfare state is the part of economics and politics and governance that looks after the people, that looks after subsidies in healthcare, subsidies in petroleum, subsidies in education, subsidies. So until we've gotten all of that right, we can't rush and frog leap to the free market economy and suddenly say that everything should be competitive when we haven't raised our people up to a certain standard where they will be able to function in such a society.
Well said, our favorite Niger wife. I'm just going to take from your cue there. We have not raised the people in our society to that standard. Only today, yesterday, someone sent me this video of the deputy governor of Ebonyi State, Patricia Obilia, captured in a now viral video sharing 1,000 naira notes to commercial motorcyclists and physically challenged persons. Let's take a look.
When you run a palliatives economy, when you run a handout economy, and then you fall short. What Nigerians need at both the national level and the subnational level is for this economy to become productive and put people to work. Not for people to be given rice, to be given millet, to be given 1,000 naira. It won't take them far. To have a decent meal, I'm told you will need to spend at least 1,500. By the end of the day, you will need about 5,000 naira. 1,000 naira, doling it out to how many people? Out of what population? So it's a handout economy. And we see people reproducing this. We need to pivot away from that. President Tinubu, like Kestama, says we must go through pain before we begin to enjoy. But when are we going to start enjoying? This is a challenge.
He said soon. I thought that was not a very good video to see.
I think
we have a final story.
The popular novel, Les Miserables, is apt for what is happening in Nigeria.
Unfortunate.
Les Miserables.
Unfortunate.
Exactly what is going on in Les Miserables. I think you should take
We'll take our final story then. Should we take our final story in the United Kingdom? When Nigerian Afrobeats musician Ashake sold out his show at London's 20,000 capacity O2 Arena for the second time, British actor Idris Elba presented Ashake with the sold-out plaque for his new feat. The 29-year-old artist now joins the likes of Wizkid and Davido to have a sold-out O2 Arena concert more than once. Let's take a look. I love to promote Afrobeats. Always. Afrobeats to the world. Congratulations, Ashake. Well, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.
And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show. Rotus Odiri is up next with Global Business Report. Stay with us. This is TDRI's News Channel.